Act like you were not meant to win. When you act like you weren't meant to win, you awaken a hunger no comfort can satisfy. You stop expecting ease and start demanding strength from within. Every setback becomes fuel, not failure, proof that the fire still burns. The world steps aside for the one who moves with nothing to lose. So walk like the odds are stacked and win anyway, because that's where greatness is born. 1. Embrace the struggle as your natural state. 2. Expect nothing, earn everything. 3. Let rejection sharpen your resolve. 4. Move with urgency like time is against you. 5. Use doubt as a trigger, not a trap. 6. Turn every no into your reason to rise. 1. If you want to rise to heights you've never seen, if you want to build a life that defies the odds, then you've got to embrace the struggle as your natural state. You've got to make peace with the climb, get familiar with resistance, welcome the discomfort, and even shake hands with failure. Because struggle is not a detour, it's the path. It's not the punishment, it's the preparation, and the sooner you stop seeing it as an enemy, the sooner you'll start discovering the champion inside you that only emerges under pressure, only wakes up when life feels heavy, and only gets tested when the road gets hard, because what you call struggle is really your soul being stretched, your mind being sharpened, and your courage being carved into shape. And when you stop waiting for the struggle to end and start using it like a sculptor uses a chisel, you begin to transform every trial into a triumph, every burden into a blessing, and every closed door into a doorway within, because you were not put here to glide. You were born to grind, not to float through life, but to fight your way to your purpose, to wrestle with the doubts, to battle the fatigue, and still choose to rise, because your greatest growth will never come wrapped in comfort. It will be wrapped in resistance, frustration, heartbreak, and long nights where you question everything but quit nothing. And that's where the power is. When you stop resisting the process and start respecting it. When you stop asking why me and start asking what now. When you stop trying to skip the hard parts and realize that the hard parts are the parts that make you, because the mountain was never there to intimidate you. It was there to introduce you to your next level, to show you who you become when everything feels impossible and you climb anyway, when no one believes and you move forward anyway, when the voice in your head says you can't, and you whisper back, watch me. Because in that moment, when you embrace the struggle, you're not just surviving, you're evolving, and there is no success without that evolution, no glory without some kind of grind, no arrival without the agony that shaped your footsteps, and you've got to love that even when it hurts, even when it's lonely, even when it feels unfair, because the moment you say this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, is the moment the struggle loses its grip on your spirit and starts to work for you, not against you, because the moment you welcome the weight, you build the strength. The moment you stop begging for ease, you unlock your endurance, and the moment you say, bring it on, life brings out your best, not because you had it easy, but because you stayed standing when it wasn't, and that becomes your edge, not talent, not luck, not privilege, but perseverance, the will to keep swinging even when the fight looks lost, the decision to rise without applause, without validation, without backup, because deep down you know that the struggle isn't in the way, it is the way, and when you live like that, when you act like pain is a teacher, like pressure is a gift, and like problems are proof that you're playing the game at a higher level, you walk through life different, not as a victim, but as a visionary, not as someone looking for a shortcut, but as someone building stamina, because you understand that diamonds are just coal that survived extreme pressure, and warriors are just ordinary people who refuse to break. And legends are just the ones who embraced the chaos, refused to complain, and used every scar as evidence of their rise. And you've got that same power, but you'll never touch it if you keep wishing life were easier, if you keep ducking the discipline, dodging the discomfort, and waiting for the storm to pass instead of learning to dance in the rain, because life will not give you what you want. It gives you what you fight for, what you train for, what you bleed for, and what you stretch yourself to handle. So let the struggle become your gym, let it break your limits, burn your excuses, and make you so relentless that failure has to think twice before knocking again. And when you start living like that, when you no longer ask for the path to be smooth but for the legs to climb it, the mind to conquer it, and the heart to endure it, you become unstoppable. Not because you never fall, but because you've accepted the fall as part of the rise, and each time you hit the ground, you bounce back wiser, stronger, tougher, because you're not afraid to get dirty, not afraid to feel pain, not afraid to suffer for something that matters, and that's where the real reward is, not in the moment of achievement, but in the moments of resistance that led to it, in the invisible hours where you trained, pushed, sacrificed, cried, and kept going anyway, because that's the cost of greatness, and most people won't pay it. They'll wish, they'll wait, they'll wonder, but they won't embrace the struggle like it was designed for them, and that's why you've got to be different. You've got to decide that the wait is part of the work, that the pressure is part of the promise, that the adversity is part of the anointing. And once you internalize that, once you stop flinching every time life hits back, you stop playing small, you stop hiding from your potential, and you start facing your fears head on, because you've already been through enough to know that struggle doesn't mean stop. It means start. Start digging deeper, start pushing harder, start becoming the version of yourself that only appears when nothing's going right, but you move forward anyway, because that version, that's the one who changes everything. That's the one who wins, not because the odds were fair, but because the mindset was unbreakable. And if you're willing to live like struggle is your training ground, your proving ground, your battlefield for becoming better, then nothing can stop you, not delay, not doubt, not disappointment, because you've stopped trying to avoid the storm and started becoming the storm. And when you walk like that, talk like that, live like that, the struggle isn't a curse anymore, it's the birthplace of your power. 2. If you want to rise above average, if you truly want to live a life that demands respect and commands fulfillment, you must first throw out this dangerous mindset that says you're entitled to anything, because the moment you begin to expect something for nothing, the moment you start assuming that the world owes you opportunity, success, happiness, or even fairness, you lose the very edge that creates greatness. You dull your hunger, you shrink your vision, and worst of all, you forget that the only thing you're guaranteed in this life is the chance to work, the privilege to build, the right to struggle for something meaningful, and the rare opportunity to earn something no one can ever take from you. And so when I say expect nothing and earn everything, I mean don't wait for doors to open. You knock until your knuckles bleed, you scratch until your hands are raw, you push until the resistance breaks, because that's how winners move. They don't walk into the room with their palms out. They walk in with their sleeves rolled up, ready to grind, ready to suffer, ready to pay whatever price success demands, because they know the real value of anything is measured in effort, not expectation, in what you give, not what you think you deserve. And that mindset right there, that refusal to expect handouts, that obsession with personal accountability, that's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the finishers, because too many people wait. They sit back, hoping, praying, wishing that somehow life will reward them just for wanting it bad enough, as if desire alone were currency, as if just showing up were enough to win. But it's not, because life doesn't give out participation trophies to those who merely hope. It honors those who hustle, those who show up early, stay late, learn when they're tired, grow when they're scared, and keep pushing long after most have quit. And the truth is, the moment you stop expecting things to be easy or fair or automatic, that's the moment your power starts to rise, because now you're no longer attached to outcomes. You're invested in the process, and that shift changes everything. It changes how you think, how you move, how you show up. because now you're not waiting for the universe to hand you a break. You're out there creating one, and every day you wake up with that mindset. Every day you remind yourself that nobody's coming to save you, that nobody owes you a thing, that nobody's going to hand you your dream on a silver platter. You get stronger, you get sharper, and you get tougher, because your fuel isn't fantasy, it's fire. It's the fire of knowing that if you want something, you better be prepared to dig for it, to sweat for it, to bleed for it if necessary, and that's not negativity, that's power, because when you expect nothing, you can't be disappointed, you can't be shaken. You can't be discouraged when things go wrong because you never assumed they'd go right without work. And that kind of clarity, that level of realism, that brutal honesty with yourself, it makes you unstoppable, it makes you fierce, it makes you focused in a world full of distracted, comfort-seeking quitters. And if you ever wonder why some people seem to rise while others remain stuck, it's because the ones who rise are too busy earning to worry about what they're not getting. They're too busy building to complain, too busy becoming something real to sit around waiting for someone to discover them, because they've already discovered themselves. And once you do that, once you see what you're capable of, once you prove to yourself that you can show up again and again without guarantees or applause, you unlock a level of self-respect that no paycheck, no praise, no external validation could ever match. And that's what this is really about, earning not just the outcome, but the identity. Earning the right to call yourself a champion, a leader, a warrior, not because someone else crowned you, but because you earned it in the dark, in the grind, in the moments when no one was watching, when no one was cheering, and you still chose to push forward anyway. And I want you to hear this. The life you want is not behind some magic door or lucky break. It's behind your willingness to work without conditions, to keep giving without guarantees, to fight without needing a promise of victory. And if you can master that, if you can commit to the daily battle of earning what others expect, you'll find that life starts to bend in your favor, not because it owes you, but because you commanded it through action, you earned it through sacrifice, and you proved you could be trusted with it by the way you carried yourself when nothing was easy, when nothing came quick, when everything told you to settle and you didn't. And so let this be your creed, your code, your inner fire. Expect nothing. Earn everything, walk into every situation not with your hand out, but with your chest out, with your head high, knowing that you don't need luck, you need effort, you don't need favors, you need focus. And the moment you start living like that, doors will open, not because they were supposed to, but because you kicked them down, and your life will shift, not because you got lucky, but because you earned the shift through sweat, tears, time, and the kind of work ethic that scares mediocrity and inspires excellence. So don't wait for life to reward you. Demand your reward through action, through discipline, through the relentless belief that if you want more, you must become more, and to become more, you must first let go of expectation and grab hold of responsibility. Because your future doesn't belong to those who hope for it. It belongs to those who earn it. 3. Let rejection sharpen your resolve, not break your spirit, because every no you hear is not the end of your journey. It's a signal that the real work is just beginning, and if you've got the heart to listen carefully, to lean in instead of retreating, then every door that slams in your face becomes a doorway into deeper strength, greater clarity, and unshakable grit. Because life will test you through rejection long before it rewards you with acceptance. It will knock you down to see if you have the guts to get up, and not just once, but again and again. And what you do in those moments, when your ideas are dismissed, when your value is ignored, when your dreams are underestimated, that's what defines your destiny, not your talent, not your luck, not even your resources, but your resolve, that inner fire that refuses to go out no matter how many storms try to smother it. And it's that kind of resolve that you must build like a muscle by treating rejection not as a stop sign, but as a training ground, Because the truth is, if everyone said yes to you right away, if your path was paved with instant approval and nonstop validation, you'd never grow the resilience it takes to handle real success. And make no mistake, real success will always attract resistance, always come with critics, always be accompanied by people who don't see your vision, don't believe in your ability, and don't think you're enough. But let that doubt become your fuel, not your prison. Let that rejection light a fire so deep in your soul that it becomes impossible to quit. Because greatness has never been given, only earned, and earning it means hearing no more times than you can count, falling short, feeling embarrassed, being left out, overlooked, underestimated, and still showing up anyway, still betting on yourself, still doing the work even when no one's watching, still improving even when no one's applauding, because that's the spirit of a champion. And if you've ever read the story of any person who's made something extraordinary of themselves, you'll find rejection at the beginning of every single one. Writers who were told they couldn't write, athletes cut from teams, entrepreneurs who were laughed out of rooms, visionaries who were called crazy, people who were told over and over again that they just didn't have it, and yet something inside them refused to let those words define them. Something inside them said, no one's approval is stronger than my belief. And that belief, that unshakable inner faith, that's what rejection is meant to grow in you if you let it, because rejection will ask you a simple question. How bad do you want it? And if your answer is weak, if your vision is fragile, if your confidence depends on external applause, then rejection will break you, it will steal your drive, it will bury your dreams in self-doubt. But if your answer is strong, if your desire is forged in conviction, then every no will just be another reason to keep going. Every closed door will just be a detour to a better one. Every insult, every dismissal, every moment where you feel small will only remind you that you're being called to rise, to stretch, to evolve, because life is never trying to punish you. It's trying to prepare you, and it knows that resolve isn't born when things go your way. Resolve is born in the wilderness, in the struggle, in the silence of your grind when no one is cheering and everything in you wants to stop. But you choose to persist anyway, and let me tell you something you might not hear often. Rejection is a gift, but only if you open it. Only if you receive it with the mindset that says, I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to be legendary. And legends are never made in rooms where everyone claps. They're made in seasons of loneliness, in chapters of silence, in years of being told you can't. Until you finally prove without question that you can, so don't run from rejection. Invite it, let it sharpen your vision, let it harden your will, let it strengthen your discipline, because the more rejection you face and survive, the more invincible you become, the more prepared you are for the weight of success, because success is heavy, and if rejection still rattles you, you're not ready to carry the crown. So train now, strengthen now, face the fire now, and let every painful moment you weren't chosen, you weren't acknowledged, you weren't rewarded, be the moment you chose yourself. You acknowledged your own worth, and you rewarded yourself with relentless action, because no one can stop the person who refuses to stop, no matter how many times they hear no, no matter how many times the world says you're not good enough. Because here's the secret. They're only saying that because they haven't seen the full version of you yet. They don't know the hunger that's building, the energy that's charging, the depth that's developing inside of you through every setback, every failure, every overlooked effort. And when time comes when all that rejection has shaped you into something fierce, something undeniable, they'll have no choice but to see you, to recognize you, to respect you. But by then, it won't even matter, because you won't need them. You'll have become the kind of person who doesn't need permission. Be great because you've given yourself the only approval that matters, and you earned it through rejection, through hardship, through trials that most people run from. But you stayed, you faced them, and you conquered them, and now your resolve is bulletproof, your spirit is unshakable, and your mission is unstoppable, all because you let rejection do what it was always meant to do, not define you, but refine you. 4. When the world begins to shake beneath your feet, when plans fall apart and the voices around you rise into panic, fear, and confusion, that is not the time to react like everyone else. That is the time to remain still, the time to remain grounded, the time to remember that chaos is not your master. Unless you bow to it, because every great person who ever changed the world, who ever shaped history, who ever overcame the most impossible odds, first learned how to calm their mind in the middle of madness. And if you truly want to rise above circumstances instead of being ruled by them, you must train your emotions to obey your purpose and not the noise around you, for storms will come. That's not a maybe, that's a guarantee. Your life will be hit by trouble, by unexpected pain, by setbacks that feel like punches to the gut, and when that moment hits, you'll hear the chaos calling, you'll feel it trying to drag you into its current, but you must not go, you must not give in, because those who lose their peace lose their power, and those who lose their power lose their direction, and without direction you drift, and drifting is the slow death of every dream that ever lived inside you. So let this be your discipline, not to avoid chaos, not to wish for a life of calm seas, but to master your center so deeply that no wave, no storm, no screaming opinion can pull you off course. And make no mistake, this isn't about ignoring problems or pretending you're not afraid. No, this is about choosing how you respond to adversity, how you carry yourself when others crumble, how you lead when others follow fear, because there will be times when everything you worked for will feel like it's slipping through your fingers, and in that moment, the natural reaction is to panic, to lash out, to freeze. But that's the moment you breathe deeper, you think clearer, you speak less and observe more, you become deliberate, not desperate, because panic creates mistakes and calm creates solutions. And if you look back over your life, you'll find that the worst decisions you made were born out of rushed, chaotic emotion, and the best decisions were born out of clarity, even if that clarity came in the middle of pressure. And that's the truth about pressure. It doesn't crush everyone. It purifies some. It reveals what's really inside you. And if you want to be the kind of person who can be trusted with greatness, you must be the kind of person who can carry responsibility without losing yourself when things fall apart. And they will fall apart from time to time. That's the nature of growth. That's the rhythm of life. Expansion always requires disruption. Transformation always brings chaos before clarity, and if you run from it, if you allow your peace to be shattered every time the unexpected arrives, you'll never hold on to anything worth building. So train now, while it's quiet. Train in the little moments, the delay, the rude comment, the canceled plan, the frustrating inconvenience. Those are the workouts of your spirit, the gym for your patience, the lessons that prepare you for bigger storms. And the people who succeed are not always the smartest or the fastest or the strongest. They're the calmest, the most anchored, the ones who can see clearly when others go blind. And if you want to be that person, you must stop reacting to everything and start choosing how you respond. You must stop blaming the storm and start becoming the shelter. And yes, that takes work, it takes discipline, it takes constant reminders to pause before you speak, to breathe before you act, to center yourself in truth before emotion takes over. But the reward is freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from impulsive choices, freedom from the chaos that destroys so many people's potential. And this isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending things don't bother you. It's about deciding that no matter what happens outside of you, you are still in control of you, your thoughts, your tone, your presence, and that inner authority is priceless, because when chaos strikes, and it will strike, people look to the calmest person in the room, not the loudest, Not the angriest, not the one with all the answers, but the one who can stand tall when the ground shakes, the one whose eyes are steady while others panic, the one whose mind isn't cluttered by emotion but focused on purpose, and that could be you, that should be you if you choose it, if you practice it. And let me tell you this, no matter how chaotic life becomes, peace is always available, not in the absence of noise, but in your ability to rise above it, to create a stillness within that becomes your anchor, your shield, your compass, because calmness is not weakness. Calmness is not passivity. Calmness is control. It is power in pure form. It is the tool of leaders, of visionaries, of warriors who do not waste energy on panic. And if you ever want to lead your own life, truly lead it, not just exist in it, you must become fluent in calm. You must become unshakable, not because storms don't come, but because storms no longer own you. They no longer dictate who you are or how you show up. And when you master that level of composure, opportunities open, people trust you, challenges become stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks, and life begins to bend in your favor. Not because it got easier, but because you got wiser, stronger, more rooted in who you are. And no matter what happens from this day forward, remember this. Chaos does not make the rules, you do, and when you choose calm over panic, clarity over confusion, response over reaction, you become the rare individual who moves through life with purpose, precision, and peace. And that kind of person cannot be stopped. 5. Never beg for what you can build, because the moment you beg, you hand your power away. You declare that what you desire lies in someone else's hands, that your future depends on their permission, their approval, their generosity, but the truth is it doesn't. It never has, and it never will. Because everything you need is already inside you, waiting to be used, waiting to be developed, waiting to be tested and proven through action. And if you keep asking for handouts, if you keep hoping someone will come save you, you'll stay stuck, frustrated, small, and powerless, not because you lack talent or intelligence or value, but because you're waiting when you should be working, wishing when you should be building, hoping when you should be doing. And this world doesn't reward those who wait for a break. It rewards those who create one, those who roll up their sleeves, get into the mud, and make something out of nothing with nothing but vision, sweat, and a refusal to quit. And I'll tell you right now, you'll be tempted to beg, tempted to ask others to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, to cry for support, to demand recognition, to plead for help that deep down you know you don't really need. And in those moments, you must catch yourself. You must remember that what separates the builders from the beggars is belief. The builders believe that if the door doesn't open, they can make their own, and if no one listens, they can speak anyway, and if no one supports them, they can push forward regardless, because builders understand that everything great ever created started with someone who dared to try without applause, who dared to act without a crowd cheering them on, who dared to lay one brick, then another, and then another, while everyone else was still asking, when will it happen for me? And if you've got that kind of spirit, that builder's fire, then you won't need to beg. You'll be too busy building, too busy becoming, too busy doing the thing no one thought you could do. And that's when the world starts to notice. Not when you ask for attention, but when you earn it. Not when you cry for help, but when you show you're willing to figure it out alone. And don't misunderstand me, there's nothing wrong with asking for guidance, with learning from others, with seeking mentorship or feedback. That's part of the process. But it's when you lean on others so much that you forget your own strength, when you rely on them so heavily that you forget how capable you truly are. That's when begging becomes a trap, a cage, a way of thinking that keeps you waiting for someone else to give you what you were meant to create with your own hands. And if you look around, you'll see the difference. Builders move with purpose. Beggars move with desperation. Builders walk into rooms like they belong because they've done the work. Beggars ask to be let in because they're afraid they're not enough. Builders speak with conviction because they've earned their voice. Beggars whisper and hope someone listens, and this world responds to conviction, not desperation, to action, not pleading. And the beauty is, You get to choose which one you'll be every single day, every moment you feel ignored, every time you feel overlooked, every second you doubt yourself. You have a choice. Will I beg for someone to validate me? Or will I get back to building something so undeniable that no one can ignore me again? Because when you choose to build, the power returns to you, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week, sometimes not even in a year, but brick by brick, effort by effort, belief by belief, you'll rise, and it's that process, that struggle, that long walk through rejection and silence and solitude that forges something in you no one can take away, because when you've built it, when you've earned it, when you've crafted your success with your own hands, no one can threaten to take it from you. And if they do, you'll just build again, faster, stronger, wiser, because now you know you can, now you know what you're made of, and no amount of loss or setback can break a builder, but begging weakens you. Begging says, I don't believe in myself enough to try. Begging says, I need you to make me feel worthy. And that mindset will rob you of everything you were meant to become, so instead, choose to build your confidence by doing the work. Build your value by showing up every day even when no one's clapping. Build your dream by laying the foundation when it's just you and your vision and your quiet determination, and I promise you, the world will catch up, the recognition will come, the support will follow, but only after you've proven that you don't need it to begin, and you'll find along the way that the people who truly build don't do it for the approval. They do it because they can't not do it, because the idea, the purpose, the mission burns in them too hot to ignore, and that's where your fire must come from. Not from what others think of you, but from what you believe about yourself, not from who follows you, but from who you're becoming, not from what they give you, but from what you create. And once you step into that mindset, everything changes. You stop asking for shortcuts. You stop hoping for easy answers, and you start owning your process, your growth, your greatness, because it's yours, and you're willing to build it even if it takes years, even if it's hard. Even if no one believes until you succeed, and that is the truth of every legend, every giant, every world changer. They built when others begged, they acted when others hesitated, they bet on themselves when no one else would, and that's your power too, if you'll claim it, if you'll stop waiting for someone to see you and start showing yourself what you're made of, because no one can take from you what you've built from within. And when you stop begging and start building, the world no longer sees you as a question mark, it sees you as a statement. 6. There is a strength so deep, so rare, so unshakable, it doesn't need to be announced, explained, or validated. It simply exists, like a mountain that never asks the world to notice it. And that strength is born in the quiet places where no applause reaches, where no recognition echoes, where no audience cheers, and yet, in those unseen moments, something powerful begins to form. The kind of power that doesn't brag, that doesn't beg, that doesn't seek attention but commands it anyway through presence, through results, through unspoken certainty. And if you truly want to live a life that leaves a mark, if you truly want to walk with dignity, with influence, with a legacy that outlasts noise, then you must learn how to prove your power in silence, not in the loud, dramatic expressions that demand others to look, but in the steady, focused, deliberate steps you take when no one's watching, because real power doesn't talk, it moves. Real power doesn't show off, it shows up. Real power doesn't explain itself. It embodies the truth of who you are, and when you get to a place where you no longer need to prove anything to anyone, that's when you've proven everything. And let me tell you, most people don't get there. Most people are too busy trying to look successful instead of being successful, too busy posting their dreams instead of building them, too busy trying to convince others they're strong instead of becoming strong, and the difference is night and day, because the loudest voice in the room is usually the one trying hardest to cover up their insecurity, but the calm one, the quiet one, the one who smiles without speaking, that person knows something the rest don't. They've done the work in the dark. They've faced the mirror when it was painful. They've fought their demons without announcing every battle, and now they walk differently, not because they've been praised, but because they've earned their own respect. And that, my friend, is the highest form of power. Not needing others to believe in you because you already do, not needing anyone's permission because you already said yes, not waiting for someone to see your value because you never lost sight of it in the first place. And that kind of self-belief, that kind of internal power, comes only from silence, from being still with your fear, from pushing forward with no guarantee, from holding your vision when everyone else laughs or doubts or disappears. And the truth is, most people are terrified of silence. They are afraid of their own thoughts, afraid of the stillness because it forces them to confront who they are when no one's watching. But you, if you choose to go deeper, if you choose to become something rare, something grounded, something real, then you must learn to befriend the silence, to train in it, to sharpen your mind and strengthen your will, not on the stage, but in the shadows, not under the spotlight, but under pressure, not in comfort, but in discomfort. That you embrace, because that's where power is born, and once it's born, once it's yours, no one can take it from you. That's the beauty of proving your power in silence. It can't be faked. It can't be copied. It can't be stolen, because it's built into your character, into your habits, into your being. And when the time comes to speak, to act, to lead, you won't have to raise your voice or announce your worth. People will feel it. They'll see it in your consistency, in your resilience, in your discipline, in your ability to stay grounded while others chase noise. And that's the mark of someone who's truly powerful, not reactive, not emotional, not performative, but calm, intentional, unmoved by opinion, driven by purpose. And the reason that kind of presence is so rare is because it takes patience, it takes solitude, it takes choosing growth over validation, choosing long-term mastery over short-term applause, choosing the journey over the crowd. And make no mistake, the crowd will call. They'll try to distract you with praise or criticism. They'll try to bait you into performing for their attention. But the moment you take that bait, you weaken your foundation. You trade your authenticity for approval, and you lose the very power you were building in silence. So be smart, be strong, be quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you have something greater to show. And when you focus on showing up for yourself first, on keeping promises to yourself, on building day after day, even when it's boring, even when it's lonely, even when it feels like no one sees you, eventually your results will make the noise, your growth will speak for you, your transformation will do all the talking. And when that happens, when people begin to ask, "How did you do it?" you'll smile, not because they finally noticed, but because you never needed them to. And that's the moment you'll realize the silence wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. It wasn't emptiness. It was space for you to grow, to heal, to evolve without distraction. And now you're not just powerful, you're unshakable, and no storm, no critic, no failure can undo what you've built inside. And so I urge you, stop chasing attention, stop explaining your worth, stop trying to convince others you're ready. Instead, be ready, become undeniable, prove it in silence, and let your results be the rest.